first things first, I am using the Hahnemuhle watercolor paper. It is 600 grams or 300-pound paper, and that's what tells us how thick it is. I prefer a thicker paper for this because we're going to have to put it in water and leave it there for a little bit. All right, for the next part of the process, we have, I just call these cyanotype chemicals. It's a 2-part solution, and we mix these together to make one solution, and all of it kind of needs to be kept out of the light. So I am here with my mixed up solution and ready to go. Now, because it's light sensitive, I've got to turn the light off. So I'm in my bathroom, and I've just got my shower curtain covering the window, so we don't have UV light coming in. And I'm going to use this little dropper, and I'm going into my bottle. This is just an old kombucha bottle that I've mixed the 2 chemicals in. I have this brush. It's a Japanese hake brush, H-A-K-E, hake, that I have cut the handle off of because I don't like the handle. I like to hold it like this, so I cut my handle off. And you can cover the whole entire page if you want to. You don't have to be mindful of the edges like I am. But I kind of like that fun, rough look right around the edge. And this is a nice thick paper, so it's not really curling up too badly or anything like that. And you can apply this as lightly or as heavily as you want. I go back and forth between whether I want it to be lighter or heavier, but I'm gonna come put just a little bit more on. And then brush it around. And then we're gonna let this dry on the paper. But it needs to dry in a dark place because it's light sensitive. And that's what makes this kind of art so much fun. So usually what I do is put it in a cabinet or a closet and let it dry. You can also speed that process up a little bit if you want to. I have one of these little, this is the thing that usually there's a brush up here, but I don't put the brush on it. So I just turn it on, and this is gonna be loud, get ready. You can use it to get that drying jump started. So now I'm gonna go put this in a place where it's nice and dark. My linen closet in the bathroom. And we will start on the next piece. So I'm going to take you through 2 different kinds of cyanotype printing today. One is regular cyanotype, and one is wet cyanotype. Pick out a few flowers that have nice shape, and we'll go from there. So this is a great deal of plant matter, and we don't need nearly this much for making 2 prints. So what I'm gonna do is look for things that are different sizes, different shapes. I like these little bitty roses, they're cute. I like this big cluster of flowers. I do want some of this bigger eucalyptus. It does great in cyanotype because it's really interesting. These have a fun shape. We'll add some of those. And I'm keeping in mind that cyanotype doesn't capture the color of the flowers. We are only looking for shape. And I'm looking for some things that are a little bit translucent and some things that are more solid. So I'm just gonna put what I want in this pan. And then once I have my papers out here, I can decide more what I want. These are a really fun shape, so I'm gonna try to incorporate some of those. Here's my pan of flowers. I went and cleaned up everything else. Some of these have a lot of leaves on them. So in our cyanotype, we're gonna put them on the paper and then we're gonna put glass over them and smash them down. So if we feel like they have too many leaves or too many little pieces coming off, we can cut some of those off. But these are wonderful. They're nice and long, but we can see these 2 sort of overlap. So I'm just gonna snip here and there so that when they lay down, they're gonna be a really nice shape for us. And they won't be too overlappy. We wanna have a good composition in addition to beautiful plants. this piece. Let's see, we have a kind of a gnarly leaf here, so I'm gonna get rid of that one. And then we have a lot of pieces, and I see when this goes flat, it's gonna overlap a lot. So I'm gonna get rid of a couple, a couple of these, decide which ones I wanna keep. And see, like this little stem is just really crowding the others. And sometimes we can ask our stem to kind of go this way. We aren't using these leaves after we're done with this activity. So if we need to break that little stem a tiny bit, and then we'll just place it where we want it, that's another way of getting the plant to do what we would like it to do. So this one has far too many little flowers on it. I'm gonna snip off some of them so that we have a more visible structure of the plant. So like that one can go away, because when I lay it down, I want to be able to see the individual little flowers here. So anything that kind of faces upward or middle, I can get rid of at this point. We might use them later, so I'm just gonna stick them right over here. But I wanna make sure that it's not too crowded, that the sunlight can get through this lovely plant. And it's not just a bunch of white space on the paper. I wanna see all of the structure, these pretty little buds that are coming off here. Now that I have kind of picked everything apart, I've thinned it out, I've made it to where we're gonna have a more pleasing, a clearer print, I'm going to get set up and ready to place them on the paper. I'm ready to go, so I'm gonna try to work really quickly. And I have it on a backboard because when I have everything placed, I'm gonna put some glass over the top. So here I go, 1, 2, 3, ready. And you can see it's dried and it's green. But when the sun hits it, that is going to turn it blue. So let's try and compose something nice here. So we've got this eucalyptus is really lovely. It'll smash down for us in a minute, so I'm not super worried about it. I'm gonna place some of these little flowers around and about. My glass, which I've taped on the edges so I don't cut my fingers when I'm working on this, because no one enjoys cut fingers, right? And I'm gonna just smush everything down. And then I have 1 million binder clips. And I'm gonna come around the edges here and binder clip this glass. Reason being, I'm gonna take it out on my party deck where it's windy. And I don't want that wind to really get under there and blow my stuff around. And I want to make sure that my metal is not over the green, because that will imprint. That'll make not what I want. So I'm just going to clip this kind of on all sides wherever I feel like it. All right, so I think we're pretty ready to go. So I'm going to take this out, set it outside, and let the sun develop it. All right, we're on the party deck. It's nice and sunny. I've covered it with this, but once that sun hits our cyanotype, you're gonna start seeing it turn darker and blue. I'm gonna take just a spray bottle of water and I'm gonna wet this down. Before I put my plants down, I'm also gonna drop a little bit more of my Cyanotype chemical on there, just because I can, no particular reason. This is where the creativity comes in, and you can really do whatever you want. I'm gonna wet it again. This gets really soupy. It's very messy. It washes off of counters and stuff, but it doesn't always come out of your clothes. Now I'm gonna put a few plants down. I'm loving this little piece of eucalyptus here. So let's put it down, smoosh it out. So I have a little bit of salt, and I like to put salt kind of up at the top. And what the salt is gonna do is soak up some of what we've put down. So it's gonna give it an interesting look. And now I'm gonna put a little bit more of the cyanotype fluid. And no particular reason. I just think when I smash this down, if we've got more around the different elements I've put in, it's gonna be interesting. And I'll put some up along here, and we'll just see what happens. And I have some other little special secret ingredients that I'm gonna add. So you can see this is truly, like, this is a huge mess, and it is so much fun. I love it. I'm pretty much a mess. All right, next is gonna be some turmeric. And wherever we put turmeric, it kind of turns a nice golden color. So let's put that I'm gonna put that just right through the center on top of this plant. And then I'll add some more water to it, and we'll see what that does later. All right, so I'm gonna add a little more water. I'm just misting, and I'm letting it fall wherever it may. Now, I also have some vinegar, and this is just, what is this? So this is rice wine vinegar and water in a little spray bottle. So I'm gonna add that in a couple of places, and we'll see what it does. And then we're ready to go. Before I put the glass on this, you can put saran wrap over it. You get an interesting pattern from the saran wrap itself on the paper. Then I'm gonna put that down and make sure that all my little things are in the right place. But we're gonna get this nice and squashed down. And just like we did the other one, I'm gonna add a whole bunch of binder clips for what's going on. And now we're gonna take this one out and put it in the sun. But we're gonna leave this one for a long time. I wanna leave it until all of this dries up. All right, so now I have our wet cyanotype out on the party deck. I brought it out covered, and I'm gonna take the cover off. And we'll notice the color is gonna start to change pretty quickly, but it's gonna change a whole lot over the course of the next few hours. You can leave these outside, 24 hours, whatever you wanna do. I'm gonna probably leave it out till it gets dark tonight, and then we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, here's our dry cyanotype friend, and even though we've got a little bit of condensation, you can see, because the plants have moisture in them, this one is still considered a regular dry cyanotype because we didn't put any extra chemicals or additives on top of it. We didn't re-wet it before we put it out in the sun, but it's about ready to bring in and rinse. So let's do that. Got my tub of water. I have my cyanotype that we left out. So now I'm gonna unclip it. So I'm gonna take the glass off. I'm gonna get rid of these flowers. The wind is blowing, so I'm hoping it doesn't blow stuff all around. I'm gonna take them off quickly because I don't wanna expose the area under them to light. So I'm gonna go really, really fast. And this is what it looks like before. And then we're gonna put it in water and watch it develop. So I like to just rub it a little bit just to dislodge anything that is thinking about staying around that doesn't need to. So it's starting to look like this. If we leave it for the next 24 hours, we'll see exactly what it looks like. It's gonna develop into its own colors. If we are impatient, which I am, we also can just spray a little bit of diluted hydrogen peroxide right on top of it, and it's going to develop rather quickly for us. So let's do that. I'm just going to put it in the water and spritz it, my hydrogen peroxide, and we can see that action. There we go. And then I'm going to let it sit. So this is what it's going to look like for us. That deep dark blue is that beautiful cyanotype blue that we're looking for. And you can see where we had thicker stuff happening, it's whiter. The stems, some of those thicker clumps of flowers. But that's gonna sit and develop for a while. You can see some of that cyanotype chemical came off on my hands. It'll wash off of your hands, but that's why we leave it to sit here for quite a while. And the importance of using good quality paper, this paper is very thick, so we can put it in water and it doesn't come apart, doesn't rip at the edges, we can pick it up nicely. But if you use a thinner paper, it can be more difficult when you're going through the wash step. So this is the wet cyanotype. It's done, it's been out in the sun for several hours. So I'm gonna do the same thing as last time. I'm gonna take all the clips off. Flip it over, and I'm gonna peel this off and kind of shake the flowers off of it. And sometimes what we get here is really pretty, but there's not a way to keep the colors at this stage. So we're gonna go ahead and rinse it. And with these, I definitely let it sit a little bit longer in the water, simply because we've put more stuff on the page. Like there was a little flower petal that just came off. So I'm gonna make sure that we definitely agitate and we get all the stuff I sprinkled on there during the wet processing. I wanna make sure that comes off. So I'm gonna let it sit. Keep agitating that water, and you can see how the colors are changing just a little bit. So then, because I'm an impatient person, we're gonna go ahead with the hydrogen peroxide solution, and we'll see the darkening up. So that is what it's gonna end up looking like. So you can see how it's a little bit different than the other. We have a little more, oh, what do we want to call it? It's a little more dreamy looking, kind of fun. So I'm gonna let this soak, and then I'm gonna squish the water out of it and let it dry. And once it's dry, we can really see what those colors will end up